Alrighty, folks. Once again, just some basics here, showmanship. Make sure you got to have good eye contact, good control of your hog out here. And I think, something that these kiddos could really benefit a little bit from here is kind of a visual. I always tell my kiddos that I work with, make sure you got yourself a ham sandwich. You're the bread, the judge is the bread, your pig is obviously the ham. So you got to make sure you keep that ham sandwich sitting there right and making sure that it's sitting there good. For us, I brought some help with me here today. He's one of my past judging kiddos and a kiddo that I'll kind of work with a little bit there on the swine end of things. But again, I think, we've got some kiddos out here just having some fun. I think ultimately that's what's most important out here. A little bit of a rat race out here with some pigs just kind of running around, feeling their oats a little bit this morning, and kids just trying to keep up with them. After, a discussion there with my co-judge this morning and everything, I'm going to opt to use the young man there in the Aztec shirt to be your champion junior showman. Following him, here for us, I think, one that maybe just had a little bit more control of their pig, didn't quite always have it, maybe quite just running away from him there. Young man over there, exhibitor number 15 with the belted pig. He'll be your reserve showman. And then coming up here next, they asked me to go ahead and go 3 deep because we've got to go ahead and got a top blue here. Young lady right here, give me some good eye contact with the Yorkshire Gill. She'll be your top blue showman.
Single entry here, and I think this one is really good for his future. I think one that offers a lot of good design and steps down with play substance of bone, has a pretty elevated front. I just think you need more time on the feeder with this one. Just give it a little more oomph and a little more muscle and mass, but one for a good future.
Again, a little bit more competitive class out here. My boy there and I were talking through it. We kind of opted to use the young lady's red gilt. I think from a completeness standpoint, that's just probably the best design pig here in the class. Skeletal-wise, I think she's got some width and dimension there up through her front and her chest. Steps down with plenty of substance and bone. I think she's got plenty laid into her there on the top side. Like to see a bit more curvature there as far as to what she's working in dimension down the top, and maybe a little more flare to the lower quarter of her pants. But again, a solid, complete made kind of gilt to start out here in this class. Probably more of the carcass-oriented hog, the young man there on the far side with the belted barra. He's pushing maybe a little bit extra condition right there through his jowl and his throat. I know one that I'd certainly like to redesign there from a structural standpoint, but got a big loin I put there into him, plenty of flex and dimension there from behind. Again, more of a carcass hog, just maybe not quite my kind, to just really be a complete made one here to move up higher in class. Coming up next, I think the young lady's belted bear there is just very, very similar in type and kind, very similar in how he's put together and the design that guy's carrying. Again, would like to add a bit more pounds here to that guy, just get a little more oomph, a little more size there to him, spend a little more days on feed. But again, a good carcass-oriented hog who's going to rail a real lean carcass there for the young lady. Coming up to round out our class, young lady with the braids on the far side. Got kind of that kind of up top to little red bear there that I think, again, one that is, again, let that guy just really settle in a little bit more there in his spine and just spend more days on feed, just packing him with more punch and more power, and just would have really liked to open that guy there up from end to end, especially there on the top side of his skeleton. But a fun set here to really rock and roll with our market show. once again, folks, I think the quality's climbing up here into this class. We both opted to use the young lady, the number 12 exhibitor there with her Yorkshire female. From a muscle standpoint, I think that gilt's just really got a lot going there for her. She's laid in real wide up on the top side of her skeleton. Plenty in width and dimension there behind. She's also, in addition to that, got some extra look and pizzazz there up front. We like a lot of things and similar things to say about the young lady on the far side with the Yorkshire. Maybe a gilt that's just a tick longer. One that I think maybe handles his rear wheels just a tick better. But when you really study him for overall genuine width and carcass merit, I think, she's a pretty easy place to find herself in second. Coming up there, I think it's more of a pair here, just a little bit of differences in design. But from a muscle standpoint, we opted to use the young lady's wide-belted gilt there. Again, one that's just really powerful there from behind. Got plenty of width there up high, really, really bold and opened up there on the face of her eye. There on her loin eye. We'd like to see this girl step down with a bit more substance and bone in comparison to the amount of mass she's carrying. But again, a female that I think's got some size, got some performance there to her. Good carcass there for the young lady. Similar carcass merit here on the young man's red bear. One that, again, I think super laid in, really thick and opened up there on the loin eye that he's carrying there on the top side. Could use a bit more flair and pizzazz down there to the lower quarter of his pants and just kind of redesign the guy a little bit there from a structural standpoint. Easy there, fella. Then to round out our class here, young man here with the Berkshire gilt. One that I think's really lean in her design and in her makeup. I think for a Berkshire, that's pretty good here to see. Easy there, buddy. Don't get mixed up with the wrong pig. Again, one that's a little bit frailer bone and it got some look up there up front. But again, kind of set that girl a little bit easier there into her spine and just get her to motor out with a better skeleton here as well. But again, good set here in the Market Drive.
another single entry here, and you can talk about this one for how much mass and muscle he has. I think from a easy feeding standpoint, he really has that and was a really easy feeder. I just wish this one could have a little bit more design, a little more show ring look to him, and offer and step down with a little more substance of bone. Still a good project for the young man.
If you received a blue ribbon, you need to bring your pig back to the ring. So I have Mason Unruh with both of his pigs, Rin Newhold, Zaylee, Joe, both of Isabella's, and Zai.
Kind of working back through here, you know, kind of talking things over here with my kiddo here. Just talking through a little bit of what we like to see in a hog. You know, we both work with quite a bit of show pigs, and he's got some pretty good ones back in his barn. But again, we like to see a hog with a little bit of design, a little bit of look there to it. But that can't be all that it is. You know, I was always taught and always frustrated with my judging coach, you know, having conversations there in college about, you know, hey, we can't eat pretty. Pretty's cool, it's pretty awesome, but we can't eat it. So but ultimately, you want to find one that's kind of a combination hog, you know, one that's got some look, got some design there to it, in addition to have some extra width and dimension there from end to end. And kind of with that, talking through the same things, I think both of us were definitely on the same side as far as the hog we wanted to go on and get out here and use. And ultimately, that's going to be the young lady here with the Yorkshire Gilt. She's going to be your champion market hog. Again, just, you know, from a design standpoint, we think that's probably one of the better Yorks we've seen out here today. Again, she's got some look up front. She's got some power there from behind. Plenty of shape and leanness working there on the top side of her skeleton. We kind of opted to go ahead and use the next one coming on out here just to be able to get her out here. Let her go ahead and make the drive. I think regardless of where you're at, the level you're at, the level of competition, or even, you know, your state, regional, or national show, it's always important, you know, to be able to get out here and be able to make a grand drive. I think that's a pretty big deal to get out here, regardless of the level that you're at. But again, he and I are definitely under the same opinion. You know, type and kind is kind of nice to have. I think it's pretty good to see, especially when you've got two that are built right and built well. Easy there, porkers. But again, when it talks about type and kind, we definitely felt the same way. Kind of the one to follow up is going to be the young lady with the second there in that class, exhibitor number 13. She'll be your reserve champion market hog.
If you are wanting to participate in the open class fun class, please head over here to the swine superintendents.
Again, fun to see out here, just have a fun class. So we've got some pigs that are feeling a little bit, a little too frisky here for me. But again, kids are doing a good job out here, just having some fun. We like to see young kiddos out here just getting exposed to some new stuff and be able to try some new things. So let's give them all a good round of applause. They go ahead and exit the ring.
The next show will start at 10 o'clock.